for the opportunity. Madam Speaker, Comrade Ministers, Deputy Ministers, all the rest of the House chairpersons, I explicitly also want to recognize whips, and in addition, to talk about the people who oil our relationship, ourselves in Parliament and the executive, including provincial liaison officers. They constitute part of a critical machinery of what constitutes Parliament. I want to suggest that the challenge we face is that at the end of our 5 years, we must look at this opportunity with pride that we took advantage that it presented us, to work together, to craft ways of working together and thinking together to address challenges that the people who recently elected us pointed out to us in no uncertain terms. I'm hoping that the work to position Parliament, Madam Speaker, that you and the previous speaker were involved in will continue under your leadership and that of Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP. That work is important because this positioning of Parliament appropriately is in line with the Constitution and that it requires to be adequately resourced. We therefore call that this collaborative dialogue that is in the legacy report must be pursued with the greatest of passions between yourself, the two of you as EXCO, as well as the head of the state and of government and of the executive and the judiciary, so that the ongoing relationship between these three arms of the state and supported by institutions that support democracy evolve properly and carrying out the job to defeat poverty, inequality, as well as the unacceptable levels of unemployment. We've agreed, for example, that constitutional deadlines that we are given where the Constitutional Court intervenes, but recognizes that this space is Parliament space, does not enter there, but defers to us to carry out our job, that we must meet those deadlines consistently every time. And that subject must be a cause for discussion in the collaborative dialogue I'm talking about. Similarly, we ourselves as Parliament in various portfolio committees are responsible for the appointment of committees, rather commissioners, so that these structures are able to carry out their functions properly and do it in a manner that is consistent with the constitutional requirement. We, in other words, must deal with those areas for which we may be found wanting, but act proactively to close those gaps. This is absolutely crucial for Parliament to play its work in the next 5 years or so. Democracy is clearly not a cheap exercise. But this recognition also implies that the resources that are generated by our people and the public, which the state uses, must be used appropriately. Similarly, those citizens of other countries that contribute taxes that come to us via support in many ways must also be used appropriately, so that when they receive feedback from their government that we gave South Africa this money for this purpose, the report we get is a satisfactory one, that it was used appropriately. So this is a crucial part of our internationalism. We succeeded to defeat apartheid and its colonial legacies, part of them, because of the support of others in other parts of the world and so forth, and therefore the necessity to treat with respect the resources that they give us and support us with must be the same that we treat the respect of the money that comes from our own people and their resources. So this is a crucial part of what we are learning from the past. And in fact, the commissions of inquiry that are going on are seeking to address this matter transparently, that we must not wait in certain instances to close the legislative, institutional, or oversight task that we should undertake. Therefore, this is an important part of what we are learning from the past. Our conduct in the House, there's no question, must demonstrate that we will handle public affairs properly, with dignity, although with the necessary robustness. We all undertook to obey the Constitution and all other laws when we took up office. Let's do so in the House. It cannot be correct that we do that. We stand here and we undertake to obey the Constitution and the law, and we go ahead and break it. And then, and so the impression, and so the impression.
Order, honorable members. Don't round the speaker.
That contradiction is inappropriate. It is inconsistent with claiming rhetorically adherence to the Constitution when in practice we do exactly the opposite.
Order, honorable members.
Honorable members, we have recourse to do in writing so that we must be challenged on the issues that we are being referred to. Honorable Ndlozi, I did not intend to respond to you in the manner in which you want me
Honorable,
to. Honorable
Chairperson.
Honorable
Chairperson.
members, order, please.
I want to raise a point of order.
Can you hold it a minute? What is your point of order, Honorable Ndlozi?
Thanks, Chairperson. The Deputy Speaker must not address me directly. Must speak to the House. Those are the rules. That's why you'll never be anything
Honorable
above
Ndlozi.
Deputy Speaker. You have reached your ceiling because you don't read your
Ndlozi.
responsibilities. Don't speak to me
Honorable
directly.
Ndlozi,
That's what the
Honorable
rules say.
Ndlozi.
Yeah.
That's not a point of order, Chief. No, it's not. Honorable Deputy Speaker, you can continue.
No, it illustrates the point I'm making. We must walk our talk. Yes, I do walk my talk. Honorable Chairperson, it is very easy tomorrow in the morning for members to read the Hansard and look at the utterances of members and the rulings that we made. It will not take a legal expert to see the correctness of our sessions from the chair here. It's not it doesn't require rocket science, not at all. And we will do it with the greatest pleasure, because this hypocrisy is out of order, and it must be called out of order. It's in writing. You run the risk of people seeing in writing your own misrepresentation, what you could have read. You should read what your members say and what the rulings are saying. Our conduct in the House must be consistent with our suggestion that we must demonstrate to the people that we will handle their affairs properly and consistent, that we recognize the necessity to draw from each other's insights across the boundaries of political parties is an appropriate route to handle things that are confronting us. Madam Speaker, thank you for your leadership. The announcements you've made that you referred to here about delegations to my colleagues, the House chairpersons, as well as myself, is really appreciated. It enables us to hit the road running, and these areas are crucial to the work that are partly covered in our legacy report. In other words, the work we've done, for example, around the what is referred to as e-parliament of the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution, that in May last year, we held a seminar, and that seminar was significant for two reasons. That already inside some of the departments, especially of economic development, We're already exploring with other departments what are the challenges we are facing in terms of these developments and what can we do. So they were, some of those issues were shared with us and other departments. Honorable Pando at Higher Education already initiated what now exists, a panel that is responsible for coordinating efforts to deal with matters that we were calling for a national strategy to deal with these matters. And our principal reason for doing so was so that we attend to the vulnerabilities that are brought about by this so-called fourth industrial revolution. There's a risk as a result of automation. Decisions that are made not within and by ourselves necessarily, but elsewhere, there is an impact on the number of people who continue to occupy their jobs, that if they are suddenly rendered without jobs, as is happening in many organizations that have a route externally to South Africa, that those people we already have to deal with as the list of unemployment grows. We have a necessary responsibility as the public sector, as parliament, as the executive, where this is appropriate, to interface with the private sector so that these matters of vulnerability, of the risks to the public that is employed, that requires to be employed, is acted upon together, so that certain decisions are deferred for later application whilst we're building capacity for the employability of the people. This is a crucial strategy for dealing with the inevitable risks that we are confronted with. We can't wait for those to happen. So thank you very much for giving us that responsibility. We are saying it here to invite people with interest in this particular area so that we must share insights. We will do so appropriately at the right forums. But the most important part of that is that we ourselves as an institution deal with people's data, deal with people's, you members' data, personal information, and so on. We should not be at risk of this information being stolen, used abusively without our intervention by our administration working with us to protect that, so that it is in our hands and we are able to sovereignty, not only of the work we do here as an institution, but as the country. We are assured by the executive that we are acting appropriately to protect ourselves, but act appropriately also to take advantage of the new opportunities. A long time ago, of course, others like Marx argued for the necessity to deal with the problem of alienation, to deal with the problem of the drudgery of work, hard work. If a machine can do it and people do more interesting cultural things and so on, why not? So this is an appropriate intervention to deal with matters of developments in this area. A lot of our people have migrated to cyberspace. They are constituting part of our constituency that we must service. So we must be able to interact appropriately with them where they are at, whilst we are attending to matters that confront us. We really appreciate this responsibility. Not only that, we also are clear that questions of language policy, the creative use of our indigenous languages, and the philosophical and wisdom they carry must be available to all of us and all of our people, so that we beat the boundaries that were created by tribalism and attempts by colonialism and apartheid to render us apart, ununited, even though for all intents and purposes we are oriented to the same gravitation towards humaneness and humane practice, despite, of course, those small, insignificant, so to speak, attempts at fascist tendencies that we must beat and defeat. Chairperson, we are inspired by the need to identify opportunities effectively. The speaker has outlined a couple of those things that we must work and interact with the staff so that they provide the necessary support to the work we do. There are many talented people in this environment, irrespective of race, color, creed, and age, because we must build on the strengths of all of them in their diversity to ensure that we prop up and support, as the speaker says, what we have responsibility to. Asserting our humaneness is necessary to deal with the problems often characterized as xenophobic and the fight of people from outside of the country. We have a proactive responsibility as Parliament to consistently and publicly express our disgust at those actions. People must know that we benefited from the hearts of others in the
Thank you very
world
much,
for our
Honorable
freedom. We must
Deputy
protect theirs consistently as well. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Swartz, you're welcome.